The Haunting of Blackwood Forest.
In the dense wilderness of Victoria, Australia, lies a place shrouded in mystery and fear, Blackwood Forest. Known to the locals as the Devil's Grove, this sprawling forest is surrounded by dark legends, whispers of strange occurrences, and the eerie silence that falls as night approaches. Few dare venture near the forest after dusk, and even fewer return after wandering too deep within its bounds. Those who do speak of unsettling experiences, disembodied whispers, shifting shadows, and the feeling of being watched. It was in the summer of 1997 that a group of friends, Emma, Lucas, Sarah, and Daniel, decided to break the taboo and explore Blackwood Forest. The young adventurers were thrill seekers, eager to uncover the truth behind the forest's dark reputation. Emma, an aspiring documentary filmmaker, was determined to capture footage for a project she believed would make her career. The group drove to the edge of the forest just before twilight, the air thick with humidity and the last remnants of daylight. The trees, tall and ancient, loomed like towering sentinels over the trail ahead. The canopy above blocked out the sun, creating a shadowy, otherworldly atmosphere. They set off, their steps crunching on the dry undergrowth as they made their way deeper into the heart of Blackwood. As they walked, Emma began recording footage on her camera, narrating their journey and the eerie surroundings. "The air here feels different," she commented nervously, the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. "It's like something is watching us." Lucas laughed, brushing it off. "Come on, it's just a forest. You're starting to sound like one of those paranormal TV shows." But even he couldn't ignore the unsettling sensation that lingered in the air. The unnatural stillness of the woods that made every movement seem too loud, too noticeable. Hours passed and the sun dipped beneath the horizon, plunging the forest into twilight. The temperature dropped and a strange fog began to roll in, thick and impenetrable. The friends, though unnerved, pressed on, eager to uncover what lay deeper within. It was then that they noticed it. Faint at first, but growing louder, a whisper. Low and guttural, the sound seemed to come from all directions at once. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. The others stopped, straining their ears. The whispering stopped. Silence followed, but the unease lingered. "We should head back," Daniel suggested, his face pale. "This doesn't feel right." But Emma, driven by her ambition, urged the group to continue. "We're so close to the heart of the forest. Just a little longer." Reluctantly, they pressed on. The fog grew denser, and soon the path became difficult to follow. The trees around them seemed to stretch higher and closer, their branches twisting like skeletal hands reaching out to grab them. The whispering resumed, but now it was louder, clearer. They could make out words, though not in any language they recognized. The voice was not human, but something older, more primal. Suddenly, the fog parted, revealing an old, dilapidated cabin in the middle of a clearing. It stood in stark contrast to the surrounding wilderness, an eerie, weathered structure with broken windows and a rotting porch. The air around it felt charged, as if the very ground beneath their feet held a terrible secret. Despite the dread crawling up their spines, Emma insisted on investigating the cabin. They approached cautiously, the door creaking open on its own as if inviting them inside. Inside, the air was thick with mildew, and the floorboards groaned under their weight. There were no signs of life, but the smell of something rotten lingered in the air. It was Lucas who first noticed it. On the far wall, a strange symbol was etched into the wood. It was a jagged, circular shape with lines radiating outward, resembling a twisted sun. As he stepped closer to examine it, a sudden chill filled the room and the whispers grew louder, now unmistakably frantic. Then, the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them inside. The lights flickered and the temperature plummeted. The whispers turned into guttural growls, and a sense of impending doom overwhelmed them. It was as though the cabin itself was alive, watching, breathing, feeding on their fear. The walls seemed to pulse, and the shadow of something large and dark moved across the floor, though no one could see what it was. Emma, panicked, tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. "We need to get out of here," she shouted, but it was too late. From the corners of the room, figures began to emerge, pale, gaunt, their eyes hollow, and their faces twisted in agony. They were the lost souls of those who had entered the forest before them, trapped in the cabin by an ancient curse. The spirits reached out, their cold, clammy hands brushing against the friend's skin, sending shivers of terror through their bodies. One by one, the figures drew closer, their whispers now clear. "Join us," they chanted. "You belong to the forest now." In a frenzy, the group tried to escape, but every door they opened led them back into the same room. The whispers surrounded them, now joined by eerie laughter that seemed to come from nowhere. The forest outside seemed to close in on them, as if it was swallowing them whole. Emma turned to her friends, her eyes wide with terror. "We're never leaving, are we?" The spirits closed in on them, their forms shifting and swirling, their faces contorted in eternal torment. Emma dropped her camera, but it continued to record, capturing their final moments as they were consumed by the darkness. The next day, a search party arrived at the forest, but there was no sign of the group. The cabin was gone, as if it had never existed. Only the camera was found, abandoned in the clearing. When the footage was reviewed, it showed nothing but static, except for one frame. An image of the group standing in front of the cabin, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear, with the shadows of the forest closing in behind them. To this day, no one dares enter Blackwood Forest after dark. The whispers still linger on the wind, and the cabin is said to appear when the forest claims new victims. For those who venture too deep, there is no escape, only the darkness that waits to consume them.